All right. Hello and welcome to this week's platform meeting. It's January 28th. I'm going to post the agenda to the SUMO channel, and then we can get started here. Well, it was already there. Thank you, Mihala. All right. We have one action item from last week. It's for Lithmon. Confirm if connection limit is the actual issue for sending emails before we start planning the fix for our email system.
So the connection limiting is the last idea that we have for why our emails are breaking. And unfortunately, we can't confirm that idea without building the fix for it.
Building the what for it? Sorry, can you say it again?
Building the solution.
Oh.
Because part of the solution is getting the data that we need. So I guess like we could do like halfway, but it's still quite a bit of engineering work to find out if that actually is the problem.
Oh, right. So maybe then I misunderstood you. That's what we had written down last week. What will be the actual next step here?
I think that's the next step.
Oh, really?
The ops people that I've talked to, so I did confirm that like we don't have any other ideas, we don't have any other things that we know of that could cause this, and so we just kind of have to narrow it down by getting more data. This is how we get more data.
Wow, that sounds like a big project. Okay. It's let me get back to you on that one then. Let's discuss this actually.
Yeah.
Like, maybe not here right now. I'll take this offline and we'll come back next week with something more useful. Next item. Okay. But just a quick question for that. Are we the only ones who are affected by this issue?
I don't know of anyone else reporting issues like this.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we can talk about this later. Maybe one way to go about this would be to find out if others have the same issue and then come up with a solution that would also benefit others. Anyway, all right, let's move on, and we'll get back to that in our meeting maybe next week, and then come up with the next step for the next platform meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, I was hoping for something more straightforward.
Yeah, unfortunately, like the straightforward solution is the one we would have found 3 months ago. We're kind of just in the weeds now.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Mithno, for that update. And we are continuing with the roundtable section here. Yeah, Joni, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, so that's me. I wanted to ask this while I have Mihao and SUMO Dev and you on the same call, but so a few days ago we had to create a German-only article for CLAR. But even though we made the article visible and we made the topics visible, it wouldn't show up on the product. They wouldn't show up on the product page because it doesn't have an English parent. So my question is, should we file a bug to fix that, or should we just avoid having orphan articles? I wanted to see if there's a downside to either one.
And so actually, I'd like to clarify that a little bit. The issue is not that the article that you want doesn't have an English parent. That's fine. The problem is the topic that it belongs to contains no English articles.
Okay.
So like if there was another English article in that topic, it would work. I don't know if that's what you want.
No, like in this case, it would have been German only, and it's the only article in there. So.
So, Joni, in this case, actually, I mean, I'm still hoping that essentially they will be okay with like giving one German article to all users, regardless of whether they're on CLAR or Focus. So we are still waiting for the feedback of legal and branding there. But I would say, at least in the short term, it might make sense to create an English article and then a localization of that one, because otherwise it's going to be very hard to communicate any changes to the German community.
Right.
You would have to manually tell them. Right now we have to manually tell them every time we change the article, the English article, what they have to change in the German one. So it's probably easier to create an English article.
That makes sense. Yeah, as a workaround, I did end up creating an English article anyway and pasting the current translation. So we're good right now. I just wanted to like think about the future and what we need to do in case this happens again. Yeah,
I would actually say also in the future, I can't see. There might be cases where there is no connection to anything English, and then yes, of course, it doesn't make sense to create an English parent. But unless that's the case, I would always go with having an English article, like not having orphan articles, like not really orphan, but like not having articles that exist only in one language for a case like this. It's always going to be easier for us if we control the English version and then can communicate changes through that.
Okay, so I should go ahead and file the bug that allows a topic to be visible even without an English article, right? But it won't be like a high priority.
Yeah, like we might not work on it now or even in like the medium term, but that totally sounds like a thing we would expect to work, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Actually,
yeah. This calls back to our information architecture system that tries to intelligently show you the topics, and the intelligence that it uses is based off English articles only. So if you don't have any English articles, you can't be shown in the information architecture on a topic level.
Right.
Yeah, unfortunately, reality is more complicated than what we had thought of. I hadn't seen this. I didn't see this coming. Having a product with two different names. That
Yeah.
Anyway. So yeah, Joni, let's go ahead with that. But I think right now the solution that you came up with is the right one, and we can just move forward with that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure thing. All right. Then we have our roadmap items. The first one is the unified Ask a Question page. So this one is now live. We have about 10% of our traffic going to the new AAQ, and we are monitoring what's changing essentially based on that. Like what's the traffic? What does the traffic look like? I didn't have too much time to look into this, but unfortunately, like looking at it already brought up some issues, so I haven't increased it further. In very short, very briefly, right now it looks like the new AAQ lets through only about 2% of those who select a product. Like 2% of those who select the product end up asking a question in the support forum. Whereas the old AAQ lets through 50%. And that's off of Google Analytics event data. However, I know this is not true because I have a table that I created back in April, which showed that like the number of questions that come through actually for the old Ask a Question flow were around 3%. So it looks like something has changed on the Google Analytics side, that it's giving completely different numbers. We have events that, like, maybe somebody has heard something, so I'm telling you about this right now. We have about, per month right now, about 8,000, I think it's about 8,000 unique Ask a Question flow events, and 40,000 in total. Like, there is a huge discrepancy between the total and the uniques. That's very unusual. Before, we had about like a difference of maybe 20% or something like that, looking at the data from before. So something has changed that completely changed the data, also retroactively on Google Analytics for the events. So I haven't had time to investigate this further, but we will have to figure that out first before we can move forward to this. Yeah, it's really unfortunate because we can't really, like, we have the data to compare them like from start to finish, but unfortunately the data, at least for the old Ask a Question flow, looks completely off, so we can't really use that data at the moment. And just to qualify, the 2% for the new Ask a Question flow, that's off of very little data. So that's right. Right now, it's 10 questions that have gone into the support forum through the new Ask a Question flow. So, like, that 2% is not, like, the confidence interval on that is very, very large. No, sorry, not confidence interval. It's just that very few questions have come through yet. So my next step here is to figure out what is going on with Google Analytics. What has changed? Why does the data look so different today from a couple of months ago? And then once we have solved that issue, then we can compare it to the new Ask a Question flow. But if you want to give it a shot, the URL still works because otherwise there is only a 10% chance that you will get the new Ask a Question flow on the production page. So if you want to try it out, you should still use the URL that's in there. Okay. By the way, rolling this out completely is one of the deliverables that we have communicated to the rest of the organization.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions for this one or comments? And by the way, if you've heard anything about Google Analytics and on those changes, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll just have to keep asking people for, like, what happened. Okay.
There's a bug in their data collection or something.
Do you know when the Google Analytics data changed, like when it became unuseful?
No, I can't tell because it looks like this is a retroactive change. So I copied a bunch of data over to a table that I had created before to be able to look at data in detail and, like, create like different visualizations of that. So that's the historic data that I had from Google Analytics.
Okay.
But now I look at the same time frame, and the data has changed on Google Analytics. I still have the data in the table, so I can compare. It's completely different.
That's weird.
But if I look at Google Analytics, it looks like it's always been like that. So that is really weird. That, to me, sounds like we have changed the setting that affected data retroactively.
Okay.
I mean, that's not, if that was the only issue, I wouldn't care, because we only care about the current performance of the Ask a Question flow. And we can look at the current performance of the old Ask a Question flow and compare it to the new one. But also the data itself. Sorry?
But we don't even have the historic data, so we can't trust it.
Yeah, no, it's not just. It's not even that. It's just that the data looks massively off because currently it looks like the current ask a question flow. That's 50% of the people who have selected the product create a question in a support forum. Like it looks like 50% are getting through, which is not actually possible. Like there's something off. All right, that's that. The next item that we have here is the KPI dashboard. So there is some progress here. I was actually hoping I could show you already, or I could share with you Brittany's chart, but unfortunately I didn't get a screenshot of this. Osmo Smith, did you get a?
Yeah, she's posted a few screenshots of it.
Oh, right.
Let me grab one.
Can you post that here?
Yes, please.
Yeah, let me go look through my scroll back and find it. At least I thought I had one.
I have one. Should I just drop it in #sumo?
Yeah, that'll work.
Done.
All right.
Ooh.
Actually, I'm calling it mock-up, but it's not a mock-up. It's real.
It's live somewhere. Localhost.
Okay, so it's a work in progress. So this is if you you can see the URL posted by Osmos in the SUMO channel, or you can click on the link in the on the agenda. And this is what the chart is going to look like once it's on the KPI dashboard. So you can see on the left-hand side the cohorts, and you can see how long they actually stayed with us. The color scheme is makes it look really bad. But the thing is, right now we don't have, and this is real data as far as I remember. Yeah, this should be real data. So we've known about this before. It's just that we don't have any comparison to any other organization, so we don't know if this is if this retention is really bad or actually pretty good. Might be actually awesome retention, and that we are showing here. Just as a warning for the color scheme that you see there. Okay, and that color scheme, some of you might be surprised, this wasn't part of the acceptance criteria, so nobody has reviewed this. But so Brittany came up with this, and it looked like a really good idea when we looked at this on Tuesday. We can of course adjust this if necessary.
That's awesome.
So the W's are the weeks, right?
Yeah, that's like week 1, week 2.
Yeah.
And we are collecting data until week 12, which historically it turns out after that, like if they have stayed with us for 12 weeks, then they also stay longer.
Right.
That's where, like, that's the part of the retention curve where it gets flat. All right. So the status there is that this is happening right now. Brittany is implementing this right now, while Rayhan has started working on the next KPI, which is the CSAT for contributors. And we have the survey for that for anybody who is interested. No, actually, I don't have that right now. But Michal and Madalena finalized the survey that's going to be used for the CSAT. All right. And that's the next piece that's going to be implemented. Any questions or comments for this one? If not, the next one.
Sorry.
Oh.
Sorry, Kadir, just one question. Because I was looking at the retention dashboard. That is for everybody, right? So across the board, like those numbers.
Yeah, so right, it says contributors. In the drop down, what Brittany had shown us was already like there is a way to filter it to the groups that we had agreed on.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure thing.
So that's the number of people who start out and the number of people who drop off. Right.
Yeah, you can see like the absolute number, like there are absolute numbers and then there are percentages. So you can see that like the cohort that started at the beginning of November, there were 60 people who started. And then like 8 people the week after who were still active. And that's 13%.
What about the 12 weeks? A month have about 4 or 5 weeks, so how we calculate the 12 weeks?
So the 12 weeks is essentially looking at those who have started at the beginning of November, for example. That's the cohort. We look at the same cohort 12 weeks later and see if they are still active. Okay. And how many. So like in this example, you can see that, so for the cohort that started on October 26, 69 people started that week, and 12 weeks later, 2 of them were still active with us.
Oh, okay, I got it.
All right. Any other questions for that one? All right. The next item is article helpfulness, but there hasn't been any changes since last week. So I'm going to skip over that one then. And we can talk about specific bugs. First one, Michal, want to take this?
Yeah, I added both of these, and for the first one, I just have a very simple question. I read through the discussion. I just want to make sure that this one is already being handled in a separate request, because there was some confusion around it, and I got some critical thinking about it. But looking at the last 2 comments, it seems that it's being taken care by Safwan in a separate bug, which is already linked from there. Just to make sure that this is actually the case.
Yeah. Yeah, the fact is that I did not see this bug before commenting here, so I have fixed that bug which was raising the issue. I have filled a PR, pull request, and since it will be fixed. So.
Okay, cool. So I think that's as much as I wanted to know on behalf of all the people who pinged me. I mean, it wasn't hundreds, but quite a few. So thank you for that one. And the other one is there is this feature request that we had outstanding for a while, and this is about a draft status or a draft save for unfinished localizations, for unfinished translations. And this is something that Safwan has been putting together on the side. And Safwan, as far as I remember, you told me you have a working version that you've been testing for a while, and you're waiting for the next thing to do, right? So you just wanted to make sure that this can be reviewed, or what's the status on this?
We have fixed. It was reviewed. It was reviewed one time, and now I think it will be much soon. Mike, can you say something?
Yeah. So Safwan filed this pull request about 2 weeks ago. And it's gone through a couple iterations to kind of improve it a little bit, and I think it's close to being ready. I'm going to give it a final pass today, and hopefully it'll merge. It's a pretty... Our KB system is really complicated, so I want to make sure that we take a lot of care with this so we don't break something.
Yeah, I mean, precisely. I'm just asking on this about the status of this because, like you're saying, Mike, this is one of the crucial parts of the KB working. So if something goes wrong, we will be in the woods with this. But yeah, thank you so much for working on this because this is something that has been asked for by several people over the years. So if this works and doesn't break anything, fingers crossed, then it's going to be really awesome.
Michal, can you talk a little bit about how this is different than what we already have, which is not asking for a review, like where it says this isn't updating the article?
Yeah, so this is basically to make it easier for localizers who are facing a very long article and they really want to use the tool itself. They don't want to use any external editors, or they want to save files. They just want to work within Kitsune to make sure that they can start and finish it at some point. And this, as far as I understand from the description, and as far as we agreed on this working in a particular way, is going to save a draft version visible for the localizer who saved the draft version. It is not going to go into the history of the KB article. It is not going to be accessible from there. It's not going to be accessible for reviews. The reviewer who uses the draft feature will still have to submit the revision in a normal way in order to put it into the history of a particular KB article. So it will not get in the way, like I said already, of the usual review process. This is just some kind of, I would call it like a backup save for your own safety. When you're working on something, it's a long article, and you want to make sure that your work doesn't disappear just because you accidentally pressed something. Now, having said that, of course, this all depends on how comfortable people are going to be with using it. But I mean, this is something that we'll figure out on the go, I guess.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, we already have a feature where, like, as a localizer, again, this is only localization, not for English articles. If you like edit an article and then you submit it. What happens is that there is an option, and it lets you essentially say this is incomplete, which makes sure that it's still like the next time you they edit something based on this, it still is in sync with the English version. I think that's one of the major issues. Otherwise, how is this? What's the benefit of this new feature over that one?
So the benefit in this case should be we are going to avoid confusion for users, for localizers who may be jumping in, and then they will not be sure whether they should pick up somebody else's work or they should start doing things on their own and so on. This is going to be simply a personalized or a personal save point that's going to be available online. So this way people will be able to start contributing, and let's say they get cut off and they have to, I don't know, leave their computer at the internet cafe or leave their class because they're at university and so on, and they will have to stop contributing. With this, they will just be able to save a draft version without interfering with the article's history, and use that on their account when they get back to it. They will be able to reload that particular version. They will be able to bring it back and then finish it at a different time.
Yeah. So this is mostly I see this as mostly a very quick save point. If you just need to like reboot or like you need to go away for just a moment or come back, like interrupt your work. And I think the fact that people are asking for a feature like this, and the fact that people are using external files to save their progress, is an indication that the incomplete revision feature we have isn't good enough. So I think it has its purpose, where like you do a part of translation, you leave the rest for someone else. But this is for when you will come back shortly. This can also be used. You can save a draft periodically while editing without leaving the page, and then when you go to submit your question, your internet doesn't work, you won't lose progress. So.
That makes sense. Michal, do you still see a value in like having the incomplete feature then?
I think the incomplete feature is good to have in the case where we, for example, have new contributors who need a bit more guidance, and they would be submitting an incomplete localization and asking, for example, the locale leaders or the reviewers for help. So this allows, like Mike said, this allows for sharing, whereas the quick save is just for the comfort of anybody localizing and making sure that, okay, I am not losing my work just because I did something silly by accident. In this way, we still keep the collaborative part working, and we add just a sought-after feature that shouldn't have any influence over the existing workflow between different contributors.
All right, sounds good. Okay. So yeah, Stefan, thanks for working on that. Sounds really good. All right. Do we have any other last-minute items? Going once, twice. All right. That's it for the platform meeting this week. Take care, and I'll see you hopefully all next week. Bye-bye.
Take care.